Now, last night somebody had asked a question about the mark of the beast, and I know that this is a very topical subject because with what is happening in the world right now, everybody is sensing that probably something of prophetic proportions is taking place. I mean, the disease that has basically shut down the world and the steps that people are taking to deal with this disease. Some of the moves that are being taken by some governments are kind of amazing, you know. They are shutting down countries, they are locking down churches, they are locking people off the streets, they are beating people off the streets, things that we have never seen before. So people are looking at these things and they are saying, hmm, does this have some place in prophecy? So somebody asked on the worship session last night, what about the mark of the beast? And of course, some people are very emphatic that the mark of the beast has to do with Sunday, with the day you worship, whether you worship on Saturday or Sunday. Some people are very strong on that. And I promised that we would comment on it this afternoon. And most of you are aware of that my position on it has changed. And what I would like to do this evening is just look at some of the reasons why I have questions in my mind about my former beliefs. Because once I used to believe that Sunday observance had something to do with the mark of the beast, it had to do with a contest between Sabbath worship and Sunday worship. I don't believe that anymore. And maybe this is the first time I'm saying this so strongly, so publicly, but there is a very good reason why I'm saying this. Now, in order to make my point clear, let me explain the basis on which people believe that Sunday observance is a mark of the beast. Let me explain one of the bases, okay? First of all, you come to the conclusion that you have to identify the beast. That's the first thing. You have to identify the beast because the mark is the mark of the beast. Maybe we should just look at, I'm going to share my screen with the Bible so that we can see clearly that the Bible does say. The Bible does say so. We're going to look at what the Bible actually does say in regard to the mark of the beast. But let me make sure that you can see my screen. All right. So let's go. We're going to use the left pane as I usually do on my webinars. Let's go to Revelation and Revelation 13 and let me show you. It says, Revelation 13 tells you, of course, of two beasts, right? One of them comes up out of the sea, and then it says there's another beast. In verse 11, there's another beast. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Now, it says that this second beast exercises all the power of the first beast and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. So you see, there are two beasts. There's the first beast and there's the second beast. All right, it goes on to say that he deceives those who dwell on the earth by miracles, and he tells the people who dwell on the earth that they must make an image to the beast which had the wound and did live. That's the first beast. The second beast tells everybody, the people on the earth, to make an image of this first beast. And then it says, and he, that is the second beast, had power to give life unto the image of the beast, the image that is built, that the image of the beast should speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Then it says, and he causes all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save or excepting he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So the question sometimes is asked, the mark of which beast? The mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name? It seems very obvious that it is referring to the mark of the first beast. The second beast says to everybody, build an image of that first beast. And then he makes everybody worship the first beast. And he causes everybody to receive a mark, which is the mark of the first beast. It's not the mark of the second beast. It's not the mark of the image of the beast. It's the mark of the first beast. Now, just in case this is not very clear to you, as I just read it here in Revelation 13, I'm going to go to Revelation 19, where it's more clear. It's more clear, all right? Now, let's go to Revelation 19, and in Revelation 19, we see that the two beasts are there again in Revelation. Revelation 19, let's start with verse 19. And I saw the beast. All right, it says I saw the beast, not a beast. Not one of two beasts or one of three beasts. I saw the beast. The first thing I want to point out here is that in the book of Revelation, the beast is very clearly identified as one particular entity. Yes, Revelation 13 tells you about a second beast. But Revelation 13 is the only place that this second entity is called a beast. It's the only place, Revelation 13. Wherever this second beast appears in the book of Revelation, when it appears again, it is never called the beast, it is called the false prophet. And why is it called a false prophet? Because it is the prophet of the first beast. In other words, it goes before the face of the first beast, and it commands everybody to worship the first beast, and it makes an image of the first beast. So it is a prophet of the first beast. It's a false prophet because it does miraculous signs to get everybody to worship the first beast. But the first beast is the one that is being focused on primarily. So when John says in Revelation 19, I saw the beast, there's no question. He's speaking about that first beast. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. This person sitting on the horse is Jesus. Just in case this is new to you, let's go a little further up and make sure that this is Jesus, right? In verse 11, John says, I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. He that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. Who is this sitting on the horse? His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. So it's Jesus, clearly. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. It's symbolic. Jesus and the angels are represented as coming out from heaven, riding upon horses. And this is because in the time of the Bible, when they went to war, they rode horses. So God is using the symbols and the imagery that people will be familiar with. So he's focusing on the idea of Jesus is coming to make war. And so we see verse 16, and he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So clearly this is Jesus. So it says, I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Now here's the verse. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. Here you see the second beast. But now he's not called the second beast. As I said, he's called a false prophet. The beast is taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him. He did miracles to convince everybody to worship this beast, with which he had deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. Not the mark of the false prophet, the mark of the beast. And them that worshipped his image, these both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So I went to this passage to show you that the mark really belongs to the beast, or the first beast, not the second beast. All right? So if we're going to ask the question, what is the mark of the beast? Then the first thing we have to do is recognize that we have to ask the question, who is the beast? Who is the beast? If you get the beast wrong, you will get the mark wrong, because the mark belongs to the beast. Now, in my former system of belief, which is very closely associated with a certain denomination, why am I beating about the bush? It's an Adventist belief, right? I grew up in Adventism. In the belief of Adventism, and some of my good friends are still fully steeped in that belief. So I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, but I'm just giving you my clear reasoning. According to what the Bible says, well, Adventists say that the beast is the papacy, otherwise the Roman Catholic institution. I don't have to try to explain to any of you how they come to this conclusion. Most of you are familiar with it, right? I am very, very familiar with it, because for maybe about 20 years of my life, that is what my entire life, my entire ministry was focused on. Anybody can tell you, I wrote books, I wrote tracts, I preached sermons, I went on the road, and my message was the mark of the beast. And I taught good Adventist doctrine, although they disfellowshipped me from the church. But I taught that the Pope is the Antichrist. And I'm not saying that is necessarily false, all right? That's a different thing altogether. But I taught that the papacy was the beast. The Roman Catholic institution was the beast power. And therefore, since the mark of the authority of the Roman Catholic Church, according to them, at least these statements have been produced, that the Roman Catholic Church has said that the mark of her authority is Sunday observance. And so it's a logical conclusion, if the papacy is the beast, and the identifying mark of the Catholic Church is their power to change the day of worship, it's the mark of their authority, then I could go ahead and prove that the mark of the beast, the mark of the Catholic Church, is Sunday observance. Now, of course, those were the days before I understood the true element of salvation as I do today. All right, I think I overlooked the fact that there are many very strong and sincere Christians who are involved in worshiping on Sunday. I fully believe that God wants us to fellowship on the Sabbath. I believe it has very strong symbolic and real meaning. So I'm not promoting I'm not promoting the idea that the Sabbath is not important, but I no longer believe that those who don't worship on the Sabbath will have the mark of the beast. All right? I don't believe, in other words, I don't believe that the mark of the Roman Catholic Church is the mark of the beast, because the Roman Catholic Church, in my careful study of the Bible, the Roman Catholic institution, or the papacy, cannot be the beast. That's the bottom line. It cannot be the beast. Whoever the beast is, the mark belongs to him. And the beast is not the Roman Catholic institution. Therefore, the mark cannot be the mark of the Roman Catholic institution. Now, people will say, yes, but I still believe Sunday observance is involved in there somewhere. Maybe. But if it is involved in there somewhere, I don't think I can find it in the prophecy. If somebody can find some reason from the prophecy to tell me that Sunday observance is involved, from the prophecies of the Bible, I will look at it. And if it makes sense, I will teach it. But from the Bible, I cannot come to that conclusion. And so, will Sunday observance, will the Sabbath Sunday issue be involved? I know I can look around and I see all the signs. I see people saying the Pope is trying to bring in a climate change, something underhandedly, because he's trying to bring about Sunday as a family day. I see people saying Trump said, let's have a day of fasting on Sunday. For the last 44 years of my life, I've been looking at these things. I saw when John Paul II became Pope, he put out a paper called Dies Solis, where he called for Sunday to be more respected. And I think every Pope that has ever been made Pope in the last few hundred years has always done the same thing. I just think a lot of people don't realize it. So people are very focused. I mean, every corner you go to, especially if you are in Adventist circles, they are fixated on the Pope. If you listen to people like Andrew Henriquez, Walter Veit, everything has to do with the papacy, the Catholic Church, Sunday laws, everything. If you're on Facebook and you read the forums, it becomes a little of a strain after a while, because that's all you get from people who have an Adventist background. And I was there, that's where I was. But I'm saying this to everyone because I'm going to go to the Bible in just a moment and show you very clear, strong scriptural reasons why I cannot accept that the Roman Catholic institution is the beast of Revelation. All right, so let's go to the Bible right away.
Can I ask a question, David?
Sure, brother Raymond.
Okay, it's just a little small observation. I'm just asking. I'm going to ask a question to see if you could clear me out a little bit on the subject. Okay, we know that the Vatican is a country, a city in its own. So in a sense, and you know the Bible talks about a little horn that comes up. Now, my question is this. So I understand what you're saying, and I do agree with you that the beast, the ending beast, that's not the Roman Catholic Church. It can't be, and you're absolutely correct. I understand that. But this beast here makes an image of the first beast. Now, the first beast, we understand that the beast, the woman riding the beast, is the Roman Catholic Church. She gets devoured, and whatever. We know the story there, but we know that the beast represents a power, a nation. Now, the Vatican City in its own, it's a power, it's a nation, because everyone from all the other countries, they always go there to the Pope. Can it be that the image that is going to be made to the first the image that the last beast makes to the first image has
Hmm?
to do with the Vatican, because the Vatican in itself is a sovereign country with its own powers, its own business, and plus is ruled by a religious entity, a church, with the woman at the same time. It's both at the same time.
Brother
So,
Raymond,
yeah.
well, you have to remember that the beast that the Bible spoke about has 7 horns, 7 heads rather, and 10 horns. I don't think you could.
That's the last beast, though. That's the last beast we're talking
Well,
about. We're
that's
not
the
talking
one
about
that
the one that's being making an image.
that's the one that the woman rides, right? So the one that the woman rides is the one that got the deadly wound that was healed, and because the wound was healed, now the world wanders after this beast, right? And says, "Who is like unto this beast? Who can make war with it?" And the lamb-like beast says, "Let us make an image to that beast that got the deadly wound."
Right, that's his last beast, the last power beast that David is talking about.
Um,
So the last beast makes an image to that first beast, which is the Roman Catholic Church. No,
no,
I'm
no,
just
no,
asking.
no, no, no. Um, all right, maybe we should just look at the reasons for my conclusion, because I hear you, brother Raymond, saying the first beast is the Roman Catholic Church. Am I right? Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, the first beast, the one that the second beast makes an image to, that's the last beast, the atheist power beast, makes an image to that first beast.
All right,
Uh,
I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to show you why I I I I I don't take that position. All right, let me go ahead and look at the Bible. All right, so we're going to go. Let me share my screen first of all, because sometimes when you look at the Bible directly, it's easier to see what is being said. But I appreciate the interaction. Okay, you guys, you have your thoughts or questions, please, by all means, let's have a rounded, a balanced view of what we're looking at. So, the Revelation 17 is a place that really kind of opened my understanding when I was examining this thing. In fact, it was for about close to 30 years. Revelation 17 was a hard place for me to follow. I couldn't understand it. Now, if you look at Revelation 17, the angel comes to John and says he's going to show him the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. It's interesting to ask the question, who is this whore? We'll look at that in a moment, right? But it says that the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the people of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. We'll come back to that. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, this is a critical question because it says this woman has 7 heads, and this beast, the woman is riding the beast. And the beast, first of all, he has names of blasphemy. That's one. Secondly, he has 7 heads. And thirdly, he has 10 horns. Now, in order for us to grasp what I'm saying, I'm going to go to Revelation 13 and I'm going to compare Revelation 13 with Revelation 17 here. Let me move this out of the way. Revelation 13. All right, look at what John says here. Let's compare it with Revelation 17. And there's a reason I'm doing this, all right? I just want to make this point very clear. In Revelation 17, it says, this beast was full of names of blasphemy. John says, I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. All right? It's interesting because I used to think this name of blasphemy was upon the woman, but that's not true. The name of blasphemy, the names of blasphemy is on the beast, both in Revelation 17 and in Revelation 13. There's no mention of a woman with a name of blasphemy. And I'm saying this because they always said that the Pope, he blasphemes, and the Roman Catholic Church blasphemes. They call the Pope Lord God the Pope, and they say he has power to forgive sins. So clearly he is he has names of blasphemy. But it's the beast that has the names of blasphemy, right? And if you look at Revelation 17, the woman is riding the beast. The beast is not the woman. And the woman is the church. She's not the beast. Now the beast has names of blasphemy. It says he has 7 heads, and in Revelation 13, having 7 heads. Revelation 17, and 10 horns. Revelation 13, and 10 horns. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that the beast of Revelation 13 is the same beast of Revelation 17. They are not 2 different entities. God does not have 2 beasts in Revelation that have 7 heads and 10 horns. He doesn't have 2 beasts that have the names of blasphemy on their heads. It's the same beast in 13 and 17. In chapter 13, we do not see the woman riding the beast. But in chapter 17, we see the woman riding the beast, because in chapter 17, God is specifically focusing on the woman, because he tells John, come, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore, right? So chapter 17 and chapter 18, we see Babylon judged. Babylon is a great whore who sits upon many waters, and Revelation is focusing on her. Revelation 17 and 18 is focusing on Babylon. So we see the woman here in 17, but in chapter 13, the woman is not the focus, so we only see the beast. But 17 now we see the woman, and we see that she has been riding the beast. Now, here is the important thing to consider, all right? Later on in this same chapter, let's see what happens. In verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Now the 10 horns are on the beast. They're a part of the beast kingdom. They are not separate entities. They're a part of the beast. There are 10 powers within the beast. They're a part of the beast. But the woman is not a part of the beast. She is riding the beast. She is she is in a prostituting, in an adulterous relationship with the beast. She's riding the beast is carrying her, they are supporting and encouraging one another. But the time comes when through the 10 horns the beast turns upon the woman, makes her desolate and naked, and eats her flesh and burns her with fire. If the beast does this to the woman, the beast cannot be the woman. So the question is, who is this woman? Well, I think we will be hard put to say that this woman does not include the Roman Catholic institution. I don't think there's anybody, even among non-Adventists or whatever religious persuasion we come from, I hardly think there's anybody who would say that this woman does not represent the Roman Catholic institution. So, if this is true, then it is clear that the woman cannot be both, the Roman Catholic Church cannot be both the woman as well as the beast. She can't be both. So if she's the beast, she's not the woman. It would mean that somebody, some other religious institution, is riding the Catholic Church if the Catholic Church is a beast. And if the Catholic Church is a woman, then it means that the beast is carrying the Catholic Church. Not that the Catholic Church is a beast, but the beast is carrying the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church is riding or manipulating the beast up to a certain point in time. When this point in time arrives, the Catholic Church turns against the woman, eats her. The beast turns against the woman, turns against the Catholic Church, eats her flesh, makes her naked, and burns her with fire. Now, let me pause just a moment, because when I'm talking like that, sometimes I am not aware that sometimes I'm getting a bit complicated. If there is anything I just said that anybody doesn't understand, or you think that it does not make reasonable sense, I want you to stop me. I'm going to pause just a few seconds, and I'd like you to interrupt me. Anybody at all?
I believe it all makes a lot of sense, David. I believe it makes a lot of sense.
All right, thank you, Brother Raymond.
Brother
Anybody else?
David, there's something that I noticed that I like to point out in verse 3 of Revelation 17. It says, if you could bring it up or highlight, it says, so, right there, right, that's it. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The part I'm highlighting is the part that says that the beast was in the wilderness and the woman was sitting on it, not riding it. Right? So sitting on it would imply that she's riding the beast, but at this stage, I mean, just to highlight what John is trying to bring across with the idea that the woman sits on the beast, and the beast was in the wilderness. Now, when you look at verse 8, verse 7 and 8, now Gabriel is going to explain. He says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her, and of the beast that carrieth her, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns. And now we explain that the beast that thou sawest in the wilderness was and is not. This means that it's a dead beast that the woman sits upon. So at that time when John saw the beast in the wilderness, it had gotten a deadly wound. Because what John saw, what John saw, the angel says, that beast that you saw was and is not. I don't know what's your take on that. And say, and shall ascend.
Yes.
Right? So at that time there was a deadly wound given to the beast, but the woman was still sitting on it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, brother Frederick. I am looking at it, and I think I can agree with the emphasis you're making because clearly, at this point in time, the beast is not. Clearly.
That's what John saw.
Right. So at that point in time in the prophecy, because I should make this point that I think in Revelation 13 we are looking at the history of the beast from beginning to end, but in Revelation 17 we are being given a picture of the beast and of the woman at a particular point in time.
Amen.
And we know this because we are told in verse 9, in verse 10, there are 7 kings, referring to the 7 horns, the 7 heads. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which a woman sitteth, and they are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. So clearly the beast does not have 7 heads. He has 1 head. But God shows us 7 heads because in the course of his career, he will have 7 heads, 1 head at a time. At this point, he has 1 head. And so 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. So this demonstrates that we are looking at the beast at a particular point in time. And at this point in time, the beast is in a period when it seems like he is not. And that seems to me, as Brother Frederick says, to be because the beast has received a deadly wound. Now he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. This is the last time that the beast will appear in his true form on the earth, and he will go into perdition. But I think this is after the deadly wound is healed, because look at what it says. All right, let me go to chapter 13 and show you something. Verse 3, in the right-hand column. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed, and what happened? And all the world wondered after the beast. See, yes, Nikki.
What was the wound?
I'm going to come to that, all right? All right? If we can identify the beast, it's easier to identify the wound. So let's settle on the beast, then we'll look at the wound, all right? So it says, he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Look at what it says. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Notice the similarity in chapter 13. All the world wondered after the beast. And when did they wonder after the beast? It was when one of his heads was wounded to death and his deadly wound was healed. And then all the world wondered after the beast. Over here in chapter 17, it says, he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Same thing. 13 and 17 are kind of parallel chapters, but they are. Chapter 17 is zooming in on a particular point in the beast's history. But it's the same thing that is mentioned in chapter 13. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. In other words, when they see the healing of the deadly wound, then they are going to wonder after this beast. And it's the same thing it says in chapter 3. One of his heads wounded to death, the wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So, let's go back to the question. All right, let me quickly answer Nikki's question. That's going to take a while to answer, and it's going to take me into territory that I'm not ready to touch yet. I'm going to come to it afterwards, so I'm going to back off from that. I'll come to it shortly, Nikki. But first of all,
Can I ask a question? May I ask verse 3 about the 7? Can you go up to
absolutely.
17:3?
Who is this?
And it said Diane.
Oh yes, Diane. Okay.
It says no. The one where's the verse where it said about the mountains?
It's
The
verse.
7 mountains.
Is it 9?
Is it 9? Okay. The said. What does that mean? The 7 heads
Mm-hmm.
are 7 mountains.
All right.
which the woman sitteth. Because we say, oh, that's those 7 hills, but that says the 7 heads are 7 mountains.
I'll give you a reference that maybe kind of let me see where's my search box. All right.
If the seven heads are seven mountains, you have to treat it says that the heads are ruling um, in sequential order. Then you'd have to give the same treatment to the mountains as well,
Yes,
right?
but
So the heads represent kingdoms,
I
and
think
the
that's what
mountains.
I think that's what she wants to establish, Frederick. That's what I was looking for to establish the fact that in the Bible, a mountain represents a kingdom.
Yeah.
I was looking. Here's one verse in Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. It says, "It shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it." All right, that's not such a perfect example, but um, when God spoke in Zechariah, I think he was referring to the Babylonian dynasty. He says, "Who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain." So I'm trying to make the point that in the Bible, in prophecy, many times in Old Testament language, a mountain represents a kingdom. So I think that's the point she was trying to get at, Frederick. So he says here the 7 heads are 7 mountains, meaning there are 7 kingdoms. Or if I may put it another way, I believe that there are 7 empires. I want to say more than kingdoms. And the reason why I want to say more than kingdoms is because in the same prophecy, kingdoms are represented as horns. And horns are national powers within an empire. Notice in Daniel that the beast had 10 horns on his head, and another little horn came up among them. Each of these horns represented what we call a minor kingdom. But why are they minor kingdoms? Because they are a part of an empire. An empire is a conquering power that has subdued other kingdoms and embraced them into itself. So Babylon had embraced other kingdoms. They were all a part of the Babylonian Empire. Likewise, Rome. Likewise, you know. So
USSR.
in some kind of way, and so you have these empires, and so the 7 heads represent 7 great empires that Satan has used over the ages to make war against God's people and to further his cause on the earth. Now, we have to spend a little time looking at this. Let's go back up a little bit more in chapter 13.
Brother David, do you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
When the Bible said about the beast,
You're a little soft. You want to just identify yourself and.
Anita.
Oh, Anita, yes. Okay, Anita.
Yes. When the Bible said, when this other brother was saying that about the beast that was not, um, can I safely say that the beast that was not was in the time of the Dark Ages, when the Rome had complete power over the entire world?
I don't know if you
Yes.
can say that safely, but I would agree with you. And I'm putting it this way because it's my conclusion, and yet you and I know that our conclusions are the best that we can see, but we could still be wrong. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't say we can say it safely, but I would say I see it as the best explanation out of all those that I know. That's how I would
Okay,
put it.
another question. Another thought here. Is it possible for you to name these 7 heads?
I'm going to try. And
You probably know some of them, which is like you said, 5 are fallen.
yes,
Like,
yes. We,
Babylon and Rome and so on.
we,
Can you name of the names of these heads, please?
I will try. We had a discussion on it a few nights ago, and a few of us were on a Zoom call, and it caused a bit of well, questions. I wouldn't say disagreement, but there were some questions. But it helps me because now I see the points that I really need to focus on, because there are a couple of things we need to focus on when we begin to identify those heads. We ask, what are we looking for? What are we looking for? And that is where I was about to go, because it says that if you look at chapter 13, when it mentions the beast, look at what it says about the beast. Okay, the beast came up out of the sea, but it says, the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Now, who did the dragon give Satan's power, Satan's seat, and great authority? Now, Adventists have said that the dragon here represents pagan Rome. I absolutely repudiate that idea, because the Bible tells you clearly that the dragon is Satan. You can't give him another, because he's working through pagan Rome. It doesn't mean he becomes pagan Rome. He's still Satan. So so they say that when the dragon gave this beast his power, it means that pagan Rome donated the power to papal Rome, which, as I say, it's absolutely manipulating the prophecy. That's not what it is saying. It's saying that Satan gives this beast, all the power that Satan has is wrapped up in this beast. He donates it to this beast, and he gives the beast great authority. So the question is, when does this happen? Does this happen at one point in the beast's career, or does it happen at all points of the beast's career? Here is my understanding. This beast is a panorama. We're not looking at a beast at one point in time. As I said in chapter 17, we are zooming in on a particular point in time. But in chapter 13, we are getting a flash, a snapshot of the entire career of the beast. And the Bible says the beast comes up out of the sea. We are looking at the origin of the beast. Comes from the sea. And the sea here represents the masses of humanity. And I will specify the masses of humanity in the old world. That is Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. That's the biblical world. That's where the beast arose. And we will see that clearly in just a moment. So this beast arose out of many waters. Satan called him up out of the sea and gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So if the beast has 7 heads and all of them have the power and the seat and the authority of Satan, all those 7 heads. Remember, Jesus called Satan the god of this world, the prince of this world, and Paul refers to him as the god of this world. In Revelation, it says that Satan came down having great power, great wrath. Now, so we are looking and we are asking the question, if Satan is the god of this world, then what we can expect is that the greatest powers on this earth have been the power that has been given by Satan. Satan has given his authority to these great powers. That's the first thing we are looking for. We are looking for empires that were the most powerful on planet Earth. Second thing we are looking for is that we know Satan's enmity against God's people. So we are going to look for these empires to make war against God's people. Those are the 2 things we are looking for. The greatest empire and the one that was most violent in trying to destroy God's people. And so that helps us to identify the 7 heads. Again, remember, if what I'm saying does not make sense, you should stop me and let me know why. So,
Brother David,
yes, Sister Anita.
what about the I know you have mentioned it as yet, but it just came up in your mind about the leopard-like beast.
Yes.
They talk about the greatest empire that came together. The head of a lion, the feet of a bear, and
We're at that very verse. We're at that very verse in chapter 13. Here it is. It's highlighted. Part of it is highlighted, but it says, the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet as the feet of a bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion. I'm going to comment on that right now.
yeah.
So, as I said, this beast here, this is chapter 13, and the beast here is a panorama, is a composite. In other words, you can see that God is showing you that this beast is made up of different empires. The body like a leopard reminds you of the empire of Greece that we saw in Daniel 7. In Daniel 7, Daniel saw four empires in the form of four beasts: lion, bear, leopard, and the terrible beast. Now, here in chapter 13 of Revelation, God links us to those four empires because he says this beast now is all of them in one because he has he looks like a leopard, that is Greece. He has the feet of a bear, that's Medo Persia. He has the mouth of a lion, that's Babylon. And he has 7 heads, meaning that it's not just the 4 of Daniel 7, but it's the 4 of Daniel 7 plus 3 more. So, somebody saying something?
I was just going to interject there. Finish the point.
All right. So it's the beast of it's a 4 of Daniel 7 plus 3 more. So we ask, how far do we go back? Well, I think we should go back to the time when Satan first began to establish empires on this earth. The first great nation that we saw that tried to destroy God's people was way back in the beginning when nations were just beginning to be established. We see the kingdom of Egypt. That was the first great empire that tried to destroy God's people. God's people went down there in peace, Jacob and his family. But they ended up being enslaved, and then the Pharaoh made a decree that all the male children were to be killed. Pharaoh was trying to destroy Israel. He's the first power. The second great empire that tried to destroy Israel and almost succeeded was the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian Empire under Sennacherib made war against the 10 tribes of Israel. You see, Israel was divided into two. The southern kingdom was called Judah, and it was ruled by the descendants of David. The northern kingdom was belonged to the other 10 tribes. It was Judah and Benjamin in the south, and then the other 10 tribes, they formed a different kingdom that was called the kingdom of Israel. The Assyrians made war against them and completely destroyed Israel. The 10 tribes were taken away captive and they disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. So the Assyrians almost completely wiped out the children of Israel. So in my mind, those are the first 2 heads of the beast. After that was Babylon. Babylon came and took the other 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, along with the Levites, and carried them away to Babylon and made them captives for 7 years. 70 years. And while they were in Babylon, the Medo-Persians also tried to destroy them. If you remember, in the time of Haman, in the time of Esther, a decree was made. Haman got the Assyrian, the Medo-Persians to make a decree to not only kill Mordecai, but to kill all his people. So all of them were about to be destroyed. It was because Mordecai and Esther intervened that the Jews were able to save themselves. They were able to defend themselves against the death decree. And of course, we know what happened under the Greeks. The Greek king Antiochus Epiphanes offered swine's blood on the Jewish altar and oppressed them badly. And then after that was Rome. And you know, the Roman Empire completely destroyed the nation of Israel and scattered them away as slaves to the different parts of the world. So these are the heads of the beast in my understanding. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. That's 6. And then you have a period of time when the beast appears to have disappeared. And then you have the 7th head appearing. Now, before Brother Frederick makes his point, I will tie the scene to Nikki's question. Because the question is, when did the beast receive a deadly wound? Well, here's my understanding. Every one of these heads was a great empire. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. After Rome, what was there? The Roman Empire was broken up. What did you say, Nikki?
The revolution.
After Rome, there was no other kingdom that stood up to rule the world. There was none.
The revolution
Revolution, what revolution?
So the whole revolution with all industrialization of the world and
You
stuff.
mean the Reformation?
Yeah, the Reformation.
Okay.
But that
Well,
wasn't
well,
a kingdom.
yeah, the Reformation came afterwards, though, long after. It came hundreds of years
No,
after.
I'm asking what's the rule. I know that the Reformation
I'm,
was
I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it.
He's referring to France, the revolution of France, the Pope got kicked out.
Yeah, the French Revolution. But all of that was many years afterwards, way up. Rome disappeared as a kingdom in about the third century, or the fourth century, way back. And from that point on, Satan never had another kingdom that ruled the world, or even ruled that part of the world, the old world, because that's where the biblical world, that's where these kingdoms were isolated. So after the Roman Empire was broken up, there was not a seventh head. This is when we entered into a period when it seemed like the beast was dead, his deadly wound was healed. Now remember, it's the Roman Empire that was destroyed, but remember in the prophecy, it's one of the heads that received this deadly wound. So it's the beast that appears to be gone. It appears that the beast as a global dominating empire has disappeared. That's the deadly wound. It's not that a particular nation has fallen, it's that the beast no longer, Satan no longer has one power controlling everything. Instead, we have many nations, and even, I mean, things like the Reformation and the French Revolution were minor activities within this bigger prophetic scene. In the prophetic scene, the beast has disappeared.
so the wound is not a literal thing, just like figuratively speaking to say that it disappeared.
In the scheme of of the beast, it's a major wound. It's a major wound because if you consider what the beast is, I see your hand, Brother Burgess, Brother Frederick. If you consider what the beast is, the beast is a collection of empires. Uh, there is a collection of empires with whatever this beast is. He's sitting under these empires. We're going to see how that imagery is true. He's sitting under these empires. Each of them is a head on the beast. All of a sudden, there are no more heads. In this scenario, it's a major event that the beast has no more heads, or he appears to have no more heads. The beast appears to be dead. So even though we are speaking on the scale of empires and ages, it's still a massive thing. So if the wound is to be healed, what we are to look for is for that empire to be re-established. Go ahead, Brother Frederick.
Yeah, thanks. There are many angles and many different ideas regarding this prophecy, as you know.
Yes.
I've taken many routes, I've tried rather, many routes to understand Revelation 13 and 17. And I mean, I always find myself not being able to reconcile all the 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 the
Contradictions.
teaching, yeah, from the different passages in the that relates to the prophecy, especially Daniel 7, Daniel 13, and
Revelation.
Revelation 13 rather, and Revelation 17. But Revelation 13 verse 1 says, "And I stood on the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So, I mean, the first time we see a beast having 10 horns was in Daniel. We've never seen anything like that before, Daniel. And
Mm-hmm.
here we are seeing now that the beast has 10 horns. So, or something should prick in our brain, in our mind when we see 10 horns. And it says, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. I mean, we're going to Daniel again, Daniel 7.
Mm-hmm.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Daniel 7 again. And his mouth was the mouth of a lion. Daniel 7 again. So all the attributes of the beast of Revelation 17, 13 rather, can be found in Daniel chapter 7. Now, it is, we always associate a head with a kingdom, one head with a kingdom. But if we look closely at Daniel 7, we see that one kingdom can have more than one head, right? So we see four kingdoms, but we see kingdoms of these four having more than one head. Now it says in Daniel chapter 7, verse 23, it says, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces." So if the fourth beast is the one that has the 10 horns, then we're gonna find difficulty, or find ourselves rather in difficulty, if we're going to make it the seventh and not the fourth. All right, so look a little closer at Daniel 7. It says that the lion we know had one head. We know that the beast that followed it was the bear. It had one head, two heads. We saw the beast following that is the leopard. The leopard had four heads. And then the beast that followed the leopard is that undescribable beast with 10 horns. Now we have a head with 10 horns. So here we have a beast which is what we see in Revelation 13, an amalgamation of all these four beasts, but having 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, so here we have the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Now we understand that after the 10 horns arose, and notice all the horns are on the same head. The horns are not distributed among the heads. So the fourth head, or the fourth beast, which is the seventh head, it had all the 10 horns. And it was after the 10 horns came up that the little horn came up among them. So we can divorce the information that we have in Daniel 17, Daniel 7, I'm sorry, you understand. We can't divorce the information from Daniel 7 um, from the information in Revelation 13 and 17. Now, when we talk about 7 heads and 5 fallen, one is and the other is not yet come, we we see the progression in the fact that the first the first head that fell was the head of Babylon. The second head that fell was the head of Media Persia.
Mm.
Now, to make it five, three of the heads of the Grecian kingdom would have fallen at the time when John saw it, because Rome, there's no head for Rome in and of itself. Rome rules on the heads that are on the heads of kingdoms that are before. It's not of conquest. That's what Daniel 8 says. Its power is not his own. He rules on the power that already exists. So pagan Rome sits, it comes out of a beast of the head that already existed. If you look at Daniel 11, it shows us that Rome usurped the power that existed before it. Rather, it sits on the head, one of the heads that was before it, which is the last head of Greece, which is what we call the Greco-Roman kingdom at the time. It was actually Rome taking authority over one head that existed. Now, when Rome was divided into 10, this is when the 10 horns took over the kingdom. And then the 10 horns, three were subdued, and then the Roman power came up on the same head, the papal power rather, on
But
the same head. So it's not a new head for the papacy, but the same head. that is ruled by the was ruled by the ten horns.
If I could
I
interrupt
thought
you a little though,
Go
but
Rome
ahead.
used this.
Yes.
Nikki, if I
It
could, if
was used. I thought Rome had its own. I thought the beast in Revelation, what, 17? No, Revelation
Yes.
13 with the seven heads. I thought one of those seven heads is Rome.
um, yeah, that brother Frederick was pointing out another perspective. All right. I just mentioned one thing
All right.
one thing that I know you'll agree with me on, brother Frederick. One of the things that is a little bit out of place, very clearly, at least in that point of view. You do you do you are you do you recognize that the 10 horns of Revelation are different from the 10 horns of Daniel 7? Do you see that?
I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
because those
I
ten
would.
herds are on a beast. On
Hold on, Nikki. Hold on, Nikki.
I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do. I wouldn't put it there. This. I would. It's the same.
All
I
right, I'm
wouldn't
going to
put
show
it.
you why I understand clearly that they are different. Because the 10 horns of Daniel 7 became eight. They became eight, and they became eight during the time of the papacy. But the 10 horns that destroy the woman, they exist until the end. They don't become
No,
seven or they don't become eight. Those are 10 kings that in the
that is
time.
because. Yeah, that is because we are looking to the future for this to happen.
Yes,
The ten horns. The ten horns. The history tells us that the ten horns did exactly what the prophecy said it would to the woman. The Church of Rome, or the Roman Catholic Church, which is a woman, underwent a lot of um, antagonism and destruction from the ten horns.
so you are
This
saying
is
that
why we
Revelation
are seeing
17, you are saying that Revelation 17 is mostly fulfilled already?
mostly fulfilled already.
All right,
All
that's.
that we are looking for now,
Uh, may
all
I
we are,
butt in here, please? May
Yeah.
I?
Go ahead, Wayne.
Right. I appreciate all what I'm hearing, to be honest with you. But my heart is burning to hear another answer to something else where we started. Because I'm satisfied that the woman and the beast are separate bodies. They may be working together. I see the result that the woman will be burnt and so on and so forth. But you started up at the point of the mark of the beast. And that's where I'm itching for, or if we're going to go back to that point.
It's that it all adds into the mark of the beast. This is what why we're talking about that because it all adds into that. For example, I'm seeing like what Frederick said and David said. I'm seeing 12 horn, 12 kingdoms, and they're going to be ruled by one special power, which brings in that beast. You see, so one beast is going to rule all these powers, all these kingdoms. What I see, so it all adds in, locks in together.
Yes.
I'm lost. Can I get
At first,
brother
though,
Frederick?
David was just trying to David was just trying to I see David was trying to separate the beast from the woman, and I think that is well established.
and we are agree with
Now
that.
now that I see it established, I now want to know now what the mark I now need to look out for that belongs to the beast.
Yes, and all right, all right. I'm going to continue to build on the point I was making because the truth is that the mark, it's very difficult to I would like that when we talk about the mark, we are very clearly settled on what the beast is, because if we don't get that clearly, then it's going to be confusing when we come to the mark. So we have to establish this. So one of the things that we have done, and I think we have done this hopefully very clearly, is to connect Revelation 17 with Revelation 13. I hope everybody is satisfied about that. Because
Um,
one.
ask a question, please.
Yes, Nikki?
Yes, just to confirm, because brother Frederick kind of had my head in moving. Just to confirm about Revelation 13 and Revelation 17, right?
Yes.
You're saying that the beast in Revelation 13 and 17 is the same beast. It's just that in Revelation 17 is looking at one particular time in the beast's life, but
Yes.
in Revelation 13 it's like a whole
Panorama.
panorama of the entire career of that beast. And that beast
Right.
right?
Right. That's what I'm
And
saying.
that would be like the equivalent of the four beasts that are in Daniel. Those were just four empires that happened to be in that vision.
Right.
But you're saying apart from those four, there are three more which make up to the seven that's on the head of the beast in 13, which is the same beast that's in 17, right?
You are not confused about what I was saying.
Okay, all right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So let me continue from there. Brother, maybe Brother Frederick, you and I can discuss this privately at some time, right? Because apparently there's a lot that we need to talk about and look at to kind of, if this is to be sorted out. We wouldn't want to do it where everybody is kind of getting confused. So I want to go back to the Bible because I want to establish just one more piece of evidence to link these beasts together. I think that's very important because we have to settle. We have to settle what is the beast, otherwise we cannot know what is the mark. So we already showed by looking at these two chapters, we already saw that the beast of 17 is the beast of 13. Now the beast appears two more places in Revelation. It appears in Revelation 11 and it appears in Revelation 19. I mean, before the end of the millennium, right? During our history, our period of time, the beast appears two more times in Revelation 11 and Revelation 19. Now, we already took a look at Revelation 19, but I'm going to ask you to just let us look at it again because I want to show you that the beast in 19, well, we already saw that the beast in 19 is the same as the beast of 13. I hope we saw that because let me just remind us of it. Let me go to 13 in the left hand panel here. This is chapter 13 in the left hand panel. And I'm going to go to chapter 19 in the right hand panel. And I want you to look at something. All right, John says in chapter 19, I saw the beast. That's the rascal. There are not two of them. And the beast was taken. There he is again. And with him the false prophet. There's his sidekick. Who is this false prophet? It's the one that did miracles. It's the one that deceived those who had received the mark of the beast. Where did we find these two before? Here we found them in Revelation 13. I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. This is the one that is now called over here the false prophet, the one that did miracles. Here we see him in chapter 13 coming up out of the earth. And he doeth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. This is the false prophet. It's the same one we see here in Revelation, right? With which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. So what we see is that in Revelation, when Jesus is coming again, when Jesus is returning to the earth, there is the beast and there is the false prophet. These two are alive and well at the coming of Jesus. And they are not only alive and well, they are making war against Christ, maybe through his people, but they are making war against Christ. At this point, where is the woman? Where is the woman? We saw the woman in the previous chapter, Revelation 18, and we saw that in Revelation 18 the woman is devastated. It says that her plague shall come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Who did this to this woman? Go back to chapter 17, the previous chapter, and you will find who is responsible for it. It says down in verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. It's the 10 horns, it's the beast that destroys the woman. So the woman is gone, she's desolate, she's naked. If she's still alive, she is a battered ruin. She's no more herself. She has been raped, looted, burned, and devastated. She is not there fighting when Jesus comes. She is gone. It's the beast and the false prophet who are there. So again, it emphasizes the point. The beast and the woman are two completely different things. Now, so we see that this beast is the same beast. The one we see in 19 here, standing to fight when Jesus is coming, is the same one we saw in Revelation 13. And we also see that it is the same as the one in Revelation 17. Look, go to Revelation 17, and it says of the beast in Revelation 17, let's see what it says in Revelation 17. The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and their strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. What does that remind you of? And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. This immediately makes you think of Revelation 19, because look what it says in Revelation 19. I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. That's not the one. He had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of kings and Lord of lords. It says here, the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. These shall make war with the Lamb. Who? The 10 horns and the beast. And here in Revelation 17 it shows you. There they are, Revelation 19. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse. These shall make war with the Lamb. So it's the same beast of 17 who is fighting against Jesus in Revelation 19. And it's the same beast of 13 who is making war against Jesus in Revelation 19. Maybe I'm guilty of overkill, but I want to make the point. The beast of 13, 17, and 19 are the same entity, and none of them is the woman. Therefore, the woman is not the beast. Therefore, the Catholic Church is not the beast. The beast, if the Catholic Church has anything to do with the woman, she cannot be the beast. Now,
Brother David,
Who would be the false prophet? Because the woman is destroyed. That I understand. I agree with.
all right, let me come to that. Let me come to that, Brother Raymond. Somebody else was saying something.
Brother, yeah, you wanted to say something, but Brother Raymond can go ahead.
Well, Brother Raymond was asking, who is the false prophet? But I'm going to come to that. So maybe you want to make your point if it's something I can answer quickly.
Brother David.
I don't think so.
All right.
David,
Yes.
this is Brother Thompson.
Okay, Brother Arthur.
Thompson. Yeah, there's one thing I recognize, and that is, if we see what's happening right now, the United Nations, they're trying to push certain agenda. We know the United States also, they're pushing certain agenda. And we find that all of these powers will collaborate to exalt the principles of Rome in the end. But at the end, they will destroy Rome. The ultimate objective, I think, of all of these is to control humanity.
They will not destroy Rome, they'll destroy the papacy.
They will destroy the papacy, yeah.
Yes.
But the ultimate objective of all of these is to control humanity and to rule in every capacity that they possibly can.
Absolutely. And the thing is that this all has to do with the image of the beast and the mark. And so let me go to Brother Raymond's question, because to understand who is the false prophet, we have to focus on the beast. Now, here are some things I will tell you about the beast. Here's what I have come to the conclusion I've come to. Okay, first of all, the beast is an old world power. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, they all belonged to the old world or the biblical world. So when the Bible tells you that the beast comes out of the sea, we're looking at a populated part of the world, and this corresponds to the old world. So we have the beast is an old world power. Remember that the second beast now, the false prophet, he does not come up out of the sea, he comes up out of the earth. God is trying to tell us that this beast comes up in a different part of the earth, and also that the characteristics of this part of the earth are different from where the first beast came from. So when we look at the first beast, I've heard people say that the first beast represents the United Nations and so on, but I don't agree. And I'll tell you why. Because the United Nations includes all the nations of the earth. But the first beast represents the old world. So every part of that first beast has to be an old world entity. Babylon, Medo, Persia, Greece, Rome, and if you even include Egypt and Assyria like I have done, it's still an old world power. So the false prophet arises in the new world. It's a part of the world that was not known in biblical times, but it has become extremely significant and extremely powerful in our day. And in this part of the world, in the new world, we are looking for another power that Satan uses, another power that becomes so mighty, so powerful, that Satan gives the second power his authority. And when you think of it this way, it has to be a power that has the ability to move the earth, to do what it pleases. Where do you think it is? Just a moment, Brother Lloyd. Where do you think this power is? Cuba?
America.
Venezuela?
Europe.
Canada?
America.
USA, no question.
Absolutely. In our part of the world, in the new world, the only power that could fit this description is the United States. So the United States fulfills the specifications of the second beast, or what we call a false prophet. Now, why is it called a prophet? Let me make Brother Lloyd make his point, and I'll come back to that question. Brother Lloyd, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I don't know what you think or what the brethren think, but I'm thinking about the European Union in that part of Europe.
I agree with you, Brother Lloyd. I agree with you, but we're going to come back to that, all right? We're focusing on the second beast at the moment.
Okay.
So we say the United States of America. Now, Adventists say that the second beast represents the Protestant churches of America, Protestantism in America. And I'll tell you this, again, it's one of those prophecies where people have accommodated the prophecy to suit their bias, because there is no place in the prophecy that a beast represents a religious power. Let me repeat that. This is something that I was indoctrinated into thinking that, the beast is a religious power. But God tells us clearly that the four beasts are four kingdoms. Four kingdoms. A beast always represents a political power. A religious entity, even when it is corrupt, is represented as a woman in the prophecies. God is consistent. He's not confusing us. He's consistent. So the second beast is not religious America. It's political America. Yes, the woman is involved. The woman is influencing the political power. But the beast is political America, just like the first beast is a political power in Europe. So how is it that it is said that this beast performs miracles? Does political America perform miracles? And here's what I will say on this. I'm not going to dwell on it, but I'm going to just give all of us an idea. Remember that Revelation is a book of symbols, right? Everything in Revelation, almost everything, we need to reinterpret. God gives political powers the attributes of living creatures. Like he calls a kingdom a beast. He calls a church Babylon. He's asking us to look at characteristics, not at literal specifications so much. We are to look at the specifications and try to interpret them. So if we look at a political power and God says it's a false prophet, why is it called a false prophet? A false prophet is somebody who, or a prophet is somebody who speaks on behalf of somebody else. A true prophet speaks on behalf of God. A false prophet speaks on behalf of Satan or of some false power. The United States of America is representing in some way some other power, is promoting something that belongs to some other power. And America is using tremendous means to bring about what it is trying to accomplish. In the secular world, what America is doing is like a miracle in the spiritual world. Now, how does that work out? In other words, America has the ability to cause things to happen in the world that cause people to marvel. I'm not going to say
Thank you.
I'm not going to say certain things clearly, but there are things that have been happening in the world. And I know that it's propaganda is one, but not only that. You know, one of the strangest things, I don't know where we stand. I don't want to bring things across the wrong way, but one of the things that changed the world forever was 9/11.
Yeah.
I don't know who was behind 9/11. I have my suspicions, but I will tell you that 9/11 changed the world forever. And 9/11 is one of the events that when God judges, we will be amazed at what really happened. But who orchestrated 9/11 and who is responsible? Whoever it is, they were able to bring about certain changes in the world, and it has been incrementally continuing. America has been changing. I am an outsider, but I can see it. I can see America as a nation that has stood against communism and socialism, and I see America becoming more and more communistic in its approach to how it treats its citizens, the kinds of laws it makes, the kinds of rights that it is taking from its citizens. America, that is supposed to be the bastion of freedom, it's changing. And what is causing it to change? That's the question. It is terrorism. It is certain things that happen that cause people to think, what just happened? And they happen, and every time it happens, a new infringement is made on the rights of the people, and the people accept it because they say it is for our security. In the process, America is building a system similar to what existed in the beast kingdom. The nations of the old world have been characterized by religious intolerance, intolerance for Christianity. They were totalitarian systems. It has not existed in the United States since its inception. In the New World, that kind of system is kind of basically unknown. But little by little, the Bible says America will build an image. It will build a political, it will build a political structure that looks just like the politics of the old world. So it is building an image of the beast. The image of the beast is not that America sets up a kingdom that has 7 heads and 10 horns. No, it's the principles of the beast kingdom. It's the principles of the old world kingdom, religious intolerance, the oppression of those who have freedom of conscience, who want freedom of conscience. These are the characteristics of the beast that America reproduces, and thereby it builds an image of the beast. That's what it means.
I agree.
Now,
Brother David,
say again.
Brother David,
Yes,
well, this is I.
yes, aye.
Brother David, yeah, you just made a comment about the kingdoms in the world, like a kingdom or the beast is always a political power. But if we truly look through history, all those beasts, politics, and religion are bound together.
Um,
And if you see all those kings and emperors, they have also functions as gods, or they are considered as gods. So religion plays a big role in all those kingdoms.
yes, I'm going to put
Now,
it.
say that
Okay.
we need to separate religion from those, well, like saying, well, religion has nothing to do with the beast. I don't think it's so. and is where is leading us to when we it comes to the mark of the beast, we will see that both entities will have to play a difficult in the mark of the beast.
All right, let me comment on that.
Think about one thing though,
The,
that atheism, Satanism in itself, even atheism, it's a religion.
yes, but here's the point. What Brother Ayai says is correct, but Revelation 17 already gives us a picture of that very clearly. It says the woman is riding the beast. So there's no question that a religious influence has existed, has dominated throughout the history of the beast. Because remember, the woman does not just sit on the beast during the time of the Roman Catholic Church. The woman is an ancient institution that goes right back to the kingdom of Babylon. One mistake that people think is to think that the Roman Catholic Church is exclusively Babylon. Remember, God is giving us a panorama of an existence that spans the ages. The woman has been sitting on the 7 heads of the beast, not just one. In other words, from the time that man began to create empires on this planet, Babylon has been riding on those empires. Because Babylon, the Roman Catholic institution is just the latest incarnation of Babylon. It's not Babylon. If you read the book The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, or you look at From Babylon to New Jerusalem by A.T. Jones, you will see that it is clearly demonstrated that Babylon is a spiritual entity that from the beginning of time has committed spiritual adultery with the political powers. So that political element has always been there, Brother Ayayi, but based on what we see in Revelation 17, we have to make the distinction. The religious entity was not the political power. It was riding the political power. Or the political power was carrying it. It was influencing the political power. But you have to make that distinction. Otherwise, you can't identify the beast. Because the beast is not religio-political. It is political being influenced by the religious. We have to make that distinction because at the end, the religious part is destroyed and the beast continues to exist. So if the beast is religio-political, once the religion is gone, then the beast is gone. But we see that that is not so.
Brother David.
Yes.
Right now, if we look what's happening in the States here, we can see some examples of this start to play out because we can see some so-called political entities are pushing for Sunday Sabbath, okay? And they are a part of the political arena. But the question what one might ask is, who is motivating them to go along this line? Covertly, somebody is influencing them to push the thing, and we know who this is facilitating in the process.
Yes. I know that it's very clear from the prophecy that the religious power is influencing the political power. There's no question of that because that's exactly what we are brought to Revelation 17. That's exactly what God takes us here to show us. Yes, just a moment. That's what God takes us here to show us. But at the same time, the key question is the mark. Does it belong to the religious power or does it belong to the political power? That is the question. And based on how we identify the beast, we have to say the mark is a political mark and not something that belongs to the religious power. Yes.
Brother David.
Yes, Jim.
I've heard you said before, and maybe you could just elaborate on it. Each time prophecy was to be fulfilled, largely we have looked down in the wrong direction and came up with the wrong conclusion.
Yes. All right. Yes. I suppose you could turn that around and say maybe we are doing the same thing. Maybe I'm doing the same thing too. I mean, it's a two-edged sword. But I agree with you because what history teaches us is that in the times when you came to those great crossroads of time when prophecy was to be fulfilled. Even the people of God who were looking for something, they misunderstood. In almost every case, I can't think of, it's hard for me to think of a case in religious history, in biblical history, where you came to a time in prophecy where there was a great crisis and God's people saw beforehand and understood beforehand. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. It makes absolute sense. The reason is because prophecy comes as a test. The fulfillment of prophecy comes as a test. Jesus Christ came to be a test. The death of Jesus was a test. And if you understand everything beforehand and you have everything perfectly laid out, it cannot be a test for you. So, by its very nature, the prophecies are intended to give us enough of a clue. So we have an idea. And the more we study, we get an even clearer idea. But by the very nature of the prophecy, designed to be a test, it is necessary that we get some elements of it wrong.
Open book, Brother David.
Come again, Nikki?
Open book test.
All right, yeah, an open book test. Right,
Can I make
so
2 points?
say again?
Can I make 2 points?
Sure. Just identify yourself.
I'm sorry?
Just let us know who it is.
Oh, this is Matthew from North Carolina.
Okay, Matthew, yes. Uh-huh.
Hey. It seems as though that, not that I'm opposed to it, but that your view, your understanding, kind of conflicts with some of the pioneers like Uriah Smith's book, Daniel Revelation, which I don't mind. It's just something that I haven't heard before. And number two, I think that what you said about it being a political, the power being the mark of the beast comes from a political point of view. I think it does, but it's being enforced by the political power, but really it originates from the papal system, which I think is really the manipulator of all these terrible things that are happening all over the world. They're just taking their orders. You know, the nations of the world take their orders from this papal system in Rome. Because it's just a small country. What can they do on their own? They can't enforce anyone. They've always used the kings of the earth to accomplish their goals. And they still do.
Yeah. All right, Brother Matthew, thank you. I appreciate the comment. I am fully aware of the fact that what I'm presenting, yes, it is contrary to what the pioneers believed, and I know that. I've known that from the beginning because, you know, I read through Uriah Smith's book, I think 3 or 4 times, Daniel and the Revelation, and I've studied it, and as I said, for a long time, that was what I taught. But I came to a crossroads where, like I said, I was locked on Revelation 17. I couldn't make any progress, and it was when one day I realized that Revelation 19, I was reading, I realized that Revelation 19 shows me that the beast of 17 and 13 are the same entity. And I saw that, then I realized that the beast is not what we think it is. And so I began to look at the thing in a different way. I dropped off my preconceived ideas and I started to think differently, for better or worse. But I think really, from my point of view, I think it's for better. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's locked into our psyche that the enemy is the papacy. And therefore, everything that we are looking for is predicated on the idea that the papacy is the agency that will bring the last persecution. Somehow it is going to be the papacy. That is locked into our psyche. When I look at the Bible, I see the enemy as being the beast. I see the enemy as being the beast, and I see the mark as pertaining to the beast. So it makes me think, I wonder if we also need to re-examine this. Now, I'm thinking, even at this point, that we are not going to be able to get to the conclusion of our study this evening, because we have been already nearly 2 hours, and
I'm not tired. It's still Sabbath.
I know, but I am tired. It's not only this, but I think that if we overdo it, the points are going to start becoming foggy. cloud,
What type of
cloudy.
subject you mean?
We're not going to keep our sharpness, and some of the key points are going to bypass us. That's what I'm
Yeah, but I
thinking.
want to interject something about America here that my brother here that he just mentioned about our pioneers. I believe, I strongly believe, that if our pioneers would be alive today, they would be rewriting their books. And it makes a lot of sense that the beast, he's the one that gives the mark. Now, we are in the position right now in America that whatever America says, if it sneezes, we're all going to catch a flu, a bad one. So if we don't do as they say, we're doomed. So we are in a position right now where they could bring up something that we may have to sign a piece of paper. Okay, listen, you know what? No more religion. It could just come right off the back wall. We are going to do this and we're going to do that, and if you want to, you have to do it like this. You understand? Sign this piece of paper, or you can't buy or sell. You'll be arrested because you are going against new governmental rules. So in these rules here, it doesn't. It could be anything. It could be but not even the truth. It could be like David said once, homosexuality. Everybody got to be in peace. You cannot talk about that or nothing, or anything else that has to do against the principles of your faith in God, and it all has to do with worship. So somewhere along the line, Sunday, they could take me to Sunday. Oh, you got to go to Sunday. You got to sign a piece of paper. Okay, I'll sign it. Is that the mark of the beast? No. You know why? Because they could take me to Sunday. They could take me to a mass. In my heart, my life, my body is a temple of God. I'm not going to be worshiping the big gods, but I want to be obligated to be there. That's like putting a gun in my head, forcing me to go there now. Accepting, though, to bow down on Sunday is a different story, which is hard for them to do. So they are going to bring something that not even the religious institution can do to govern people so that there's no God in between, and our God is going to be the government. That's what this is all about. That's why that mark, I believe, like David says, comes from the institution. I believe it comes from the United States, going all the way down, all the way around the globe. This
Yeah.
has already been orchestrated. Believe me, it's already been planted. They just want to see how far can people be pushed. They're going to the point where they're gonna start making us keep 6 feet distance, and they're gonna track you down from your phone. If you get anywhere closer to someone like that while you are outside, they could come and arrest you and investigate you. Now, if you don't call this, like a total control, a religion cannot do that. So through this system here, I believe they're gonna implant some kind of law which we are gonna reject. And one of them could be homosexuality. Because I tell you one thing, if they tell me you have to, as a citizen, support this organization of homosexuality, you have to. You have to be part of it. I say no, I won't be part. No, you have to go to these gatherings. You have to. You have to sign. If your name is not signed there, you are not going to be able to buy it. So just that alone will bring the mark of the beast, because you're going to have to make a decision between what's moral and immoral, and to God, that's an abomination.
Hmm.
And these
We'll see.
rules
Um,
that we just make.
Time will tell. We'll see.
yes. I think it is prudent that we should probably continue this next week because we expect to be meeting again next week. I know some people want to carry on, but I think we need to just take a break, refresh ourselves, and carry on next week. But I'm just going to give one last point, which is not
Make a point, brother
Before the
David.
point, can I make a suggestion?
okay. Go ahead.
Next week when we continue, can we like save any like comments or questions if you have any? Could you just like write it down, and after you get to the main point, then everybody could chip in and we could have like a discussion, because I feel like everybody asking questions or making their point while you're going along, like kind of diverts you into different directions, and then the time gets, you know, time is of the essence kind of thing. So if we could like just like make like uh, a presentation first, and then anybody who has questions, like as you're listening or going along, if you have questions, you could just jot it down on a piece of paper, or any points that you want to make after, and then after Brother David gets to like the main point, then everybody could like chip in with their
All right.
That's kind of like general conference rules.
Right. The thing is, I understand why the suggestion is made, but the thing is, it always starts like that, and then it becomes to where it's censorship. So, I just would like if everybody is a little thoughtful and facilitate the study so that if we make a point, we keep it short. I would ask for that for next week, so that short and to the point, so we don't have, because when you have a long comment, it kills the flow of the study, and it makes people forget what is being said. So that's what I would suggest. Somebody else is making a point.
Yes, David. In light of the point that you are trying to make, if you look at Revelation 13, to agree with the point that it is really the mark of the beast, there are two beasts that is introduced in Revelation 13, and if we look closely at it, we can see that there is merit in what you're saying.
Okay.
That's the point.
All right. The last point I want to make is that there is a situation in the Bible. There is something that happened in Bible times. There are several things, but there's one thing, the last thing that I believe happened, that is a clear teaching tool, a clear type of what happens at the end of time. It's the destruction of Jerusalem. And I just want to point out the elements that are there. It's the same thing that exists at the end of time. In the time of the destruction of Jerusalem, there were three great entities. Number one was the beast, which was a secular power. Secular Rome was the beast. Secondly, there was Babylon, which was a false religious power. The false religious power was the Jewish people, the Jewish religion, the Jewish nation. Jesus called them Babylon in a way because he said that the blood of all that was slain upon the earth would come upon their heads. And Revelation tells us that the blood of all that was slain is found in Babylon. So the Babylon of that day was the religious power of Judaism. And the beast of that day was the secular Roman Empire. And the church of that day was the Christians. Now, under that system, in that time, you had two powers that were trying to destroy the Christians. You had the beast, secular Rome, and you had Babylon, the religious power, the Jews. Now, really, the real enemy was at that time the Jewish nation, because Rome was bothered about the Christians, but it was not really obsessed with the Christians. It was the Jews more who were trying to destroy them. So both the secular power and the religious power, the popular religious, or the strong religious power, tried to destroy the Christians. But what happened is that eventually the Romans fell out of, the Jews fell out of favor with the Romans, and the Romans came to destroy them. Now the mark of the beast of that day, the mark of the Roman power, what was that mark? We are told, and I accept this, and it makes sense, the mark of Rome, the mark that Rome, the power of Rome, had entered into what was called God's people, was when the ensigns or the flags or the symbols of Roman power were placed in the holy ground outside Jerusalem. When the Romans brought their flags and planted them in the holy ground around the city of Jerusalem, it was the sign that Jerusalem was about to be destroyed. It was a mark of the beast's power standing where it ought not, standing in the holy place, because that was still considered the holy ground, even though God had left it long ago. And when that happened, at the first opportunity, the Christians got out of that false system. They fled to the city of Pella. And in the same way, the mark of Rome, and notice it's the mark of secular Rome. The mark of secular Rome is to stand in the Christian churches, the false Christian churches. The mark of the secular beast power is to stand in the religious system. And when it stands there, every Christian who is true to God had better get out. Because the word of God says, come out of her, my people. And that's the point where God's people have to come out. So I believe that this mark of the beast is not going to be something that the religious power puts upon God's people. It's something that the political power puts upon God's people plus the false religious power. And that's why they're going to destroy Babylon. They're going to destroy Babylon because Babylon, the romance is over. And Babylon will not conform to what the beast is asking, so the beast will destroy her. And the Christians will not conform either, but he can't catch the Christians because Jesus will protect his people. That is the scenario that I see. And I believe as we look at Revelation more closely, we're going to see that it fits perfectly with what Revelation is saying. But just using that typology of the destruction of Jerusalem, those are the elements that we see there.
Question.
That's my last word for the evening.
Question.
If I can answer you in 2 sentences, I'll try.
Yeah. So the example that you gave just now with the Jews and Rome, when Rome, you said that when Rome put their flags in here, whatever you were saying just now, I kind of forgot. But the main point is
I don't want anybody else to answer and confuse the situation.
Rome killing the Jews, that was like the beast killing the woman riding it. So does that happen like twice in history, or was that like
It's
just an
it's type and antitype.
Okay.
Jesus already gave us the clue when he says that when he gave us that discourse in Matthew 24, he talked about the destruction of Jerusalem and he tied it right in with the end of the world. He was actually saying this thing is fulfilled twice. So he speaks of it as happening at the end of the world, even though we know it happened 2,000 years ago, but it happens again at the end of time. So we have to understand that principle of type and antitype. All right. So
Where in the Bible can I read this occurring between Rome and the Jews?
you find where Jesus talks about you find where Jesus tells of it going to happen. But if you want to read about where it actually happened, you have to go into history. You'll find a lot of it in the first chapters of the Great Controversy, maybe the first chapter.